Hello and welcome to this series of instructional videos on AECOsim Building Designer V8i. In this session it's all about mechanical, and we're talking AHUs, ducting, we're talking T's, we're talking elbows, diffusers, hookups of rigid and flexible type, as well as offsets. So let's get going. And let's create a brand new modeling file to start our mechanical design. Our file open dialog is open for us, and the first thing we need to do is make sure our workspace is set correctly, that to Building Designer and to Building Sample US. Once that's correct, we can now come up to this little icon here called New File and click on that. The new dialog box opens and we can come down to our file name and enter in a new file name, but we also may want to look at what seed or template file this is being derived from, be it project specific, client specific, or even discipline specific. To change it, we just click on our Browse button, open up our Select Seed file and choose designseed.dgn. We can then come in and name our file, and our file is going to be named M_Office Mech, and we click on the Save key. Once we're back in our file open, we can just click Open. Building Designer opens for us, and if you need to have an overview of the interface, please have a look at the conceptual modeling session that we did just a little earlier. But suffice to say, anything in Building Designer can be configured to how you want to work and in the manner you wish to work. So I can just drag and drop these views, for instance, around the place. There are 8 independently driven views in Building Designer for you to view your design. And when I've got them in sort of place, I can come to Window, Pull Down, and Arrange. Now I can change their projection as well. You can see at the top in View 1, it says here in the header, Top Design Model. If I come to this, the navigation toolbar, and I can stop over this icon called View Rotation, click and hold, I'm going to change this to Right Isometric. My View 2, I'm going to change to Top, and my View 3 to a Front. Right click to reset. First thing we need to do now is start attaching the other building information model data from our project team. Let's come across to Project Explorer, twirl down Building Models and Design Models, and now if we come to AECOsim and drag and drop that into our view, we get a dialog box called the Attach Source File dialog box. We need to exercise some greater control over how this is attached. So we're going to click on our attachment method and select Interactive and click OK. The Reference Attachment Settings dialog box opens, and we're going to move down here to Nested Attachments. We're going to select Live Nesting, and we're going to keep the nesting depth as 1 and click OK. We can also use a very handy icon and tool here in our view navigation. That is a fit view. And we click in all 3 views, and straight away we see the extent of our model in the projections that we have set. The next step is to actually start placing our equipment. And we're going to start with an AHU. To begin with, I'm going to come into my View 2, to my window area, and I'm going to click once, twice, and zoom into our mechanical area. The same in our Right Isometric. What we're going to do here is place our AHU. To do that, we come to our 5th tab down in our task-based interface to HVAC equipment, 4th icon in, place rectangular AHU with 4 ends. As soon as I select that, we have 2 windows that open for us. Data Group Instance Data, which contains a sheer wealth of data that is either automatically assigned to this particular part, or you can enter it or modify it or edit it. And the Place Component dialog box, which we're going to uncheck Family and Part. Next, we're going to move in our cursor into our mechanical room, and you can see our AHU is there. We're going to place it in the center of the room. You can see that our View 8 opens up. This is a heads-up display. This gives us an idea, a graphic idea of what we're placing, and we can actually edit it in place here. But you can clearly see, as if we right-click to reset, we have our supply on our left and our return on our right, but we need to change those around. So we're going to right-click on our AHU, select Mirror. The Mirror dialog box, in a Mirror About, we're going to choose Vertical, and we're going to make sure About Element Center is checked, and then we can just check and click in our model file again. And we've reversed our supply and return. The next thing we need to do is do a move. We just right click again and choose Move. Move this up to the corner here, or closer to that corner and closer to the back wall. Click once to place it. And there we have our AHU is placed. But now we need to bring in some more data, and that data is going to be our structural engineers data. So if we come back to Project Explorer, we're going to come to our building models, our design models, and right down to the bottom to S Steel Low Rise, drag and drop that, and attach that via Coincident, and now we have a plethora of data in front of us. If we fit our view in our isometric here, you can see there's just such a huge wealth of data. We have a great way of being able to filter this out to aid us in our design work. If we come to our primary toolbar, click on References, highlight Steel, and uncheck this icon there, that's Locate. What does it do? Well, if you come back to your model, in your element selection, select the Block tool and draw a block or a square, a rectangle around your model, you'll notice that every single part of your model highlights except for the steels, which is unable to locate. Now here comes the magic. If we right click over here, we can come to isolate in our right isometric, and the only thing we're left with in our right isometric is our view itself of our architectural, whereas we've kept it intact in any of the other views that we have open. Why? Because it helps us in our design methodology. Let's have a look how. First off, we're going to take this view 3. It seems to have a perspective on it. We're going to click on this icon for change perspective and turn the camera off. Therefore, we have a plain Jane elevation view. And now we're just about ready to start placing our ductwork. Let's just zoom into our right isometric for a moment and move across to our task-based interface. Second tab down, rectangular ducts. First icon, place rectangular duct. The Data Group Instance Data dialog box opens up and it contains a wealth of data for you to take advantage of. Either A, it's in the background from catalogs or previous entry, either that, or you can edit in here and add data to your information model as you go along. The Place Component dialog box is also part of this and gives us various options. We're going to leave these 3 checked. And now, just before we start modeling, we're going to come up to our locks and take off our ACS, and also come to our building primary and select on active part and check on return new. With that, we're going to move into our top view and hover over our return of our AHU and start hooking up. We click to place that there, and then if we look here, we see the ductwork rising out. We're going to press return to lock it into that axis. Now we need to come into our elevation here. We're going to type the letter O, and then with that we've typed a temporary origin. We're now going to reduce our ducting and type in 2.0 and click. What that does, it sets it down so it's 2 feet from the top of the underside of our finished floor level. Moving back into our isometric, you can see our ductwork. If we go and put a display style on it though, and use transparent with shadows, we get a much better idea of what we're looking at. Let's move this out of the way here for the moment, because what we're going to do now is we're going to start placing some more ductwork. We hit the letter T, rotating it to top view, and we then take our ductwork across. We can move it effortlessly into our top view here. We'll just click here once. Building Designer goes away, creates the radius throat and the length of ductwork, and we're going to keep doing this. Let's come into the women's bathroom here, and we're going to then go through this into the conference room. And just inside the conference room, I'm going to click once more, because what we need to do now is reduce the size of our ductwork. And to do that, we come into our data group instance data, come to our width, and we can either enter it directly, or if we have a running history, we're going to select 26, and in our depth, we're going to choose 16. What we do now is simply just keep on routing that ductwork. And as we do so, Building Design automatically builds in the transition for us. We're now going to hold our Shift key down and our left mouse button and move the mouse in the direction we want to move. And this gives us great panning abilities. When you let go, you are back in your tool. Let's have a look at that in our isometric there. So we end our run of ductwork, our return here. Now we can right click to reset, and we can come across to our task-based interface to here to place a rectangular cap, and our total length must be 0.5 and our length is 0.1. And with that we can come into our place component, check part and family, and then we just move in here to the yellow cross and click once more to place. And now we've placed our end cap on our return. Let's move back to our mechanical room, because we're about to go and place some supply ductwork, but the problem will come is the fact that our return is actually going across the top and clashing with our supply new. So what we're going to have to do is move this, but I've also got an order through to move the AHU. Now that would normally take a long time, but I can simply right click and say move component, because what this does, if I click on this component here and then move it in a direction, type in 3 feet into AccuDraw and click once, not only does my AHU move, but all my relevant ducting that goes with it stretches and conforms as we move. I can also do that here as well on a run of ductwork. I can right click and say move component, select the component, move it in the direction I want to move it in so it's out of the way of the supply, press enter if necessary, and as soon as it's in the clear I can just click and everything conforms to my design still. Now I can come in and place my supply. Before I want to do that though, maybe I want to come back to my task-based interface to my place rectangular elbow here, because they're different obviously than the return, I want to come in here and you can see that they are different and also they have vanes in them. What I want to be able to do here is say this is my standard, this is what I want to start placing as a supply. So I can just right click in here in my data group instance data and say set as my default auto fitting option. And now I don't have to worry about it, because when I come to place ductwork down, task-based interface, place rectangular duct, hover it over that, come into my isometric, once again you can see that there, return ductwork, press the enter key, lock it into that axis, and let's come down to our front elevation view here, because with this one I've got it just here. I'm going to come to the underside of the finished floor level, press O on my keyboard with AccuDraw active, push my ductwork down by say 4 feet, and then click, and now I can start routing my ductwork without any problem. In fact, what I'm going to do here now is to hit the letter T for top. I'm going to take my ductwork and see my top here. I'm going to take it off this direction first, knowing that I can't go with inside the electrical room. You can see that the vanes and the radial throat is there. I'm now going to come across here and pressing enter to keep that run going there. Place that in there like that. And now if I scroll up or scroll down in my top view here, we're now going to project this into the corridor here like that. And then we're coming to a quandary, a classic quandary. The architect has created an atrium. The HVAC cannot be seen to be going through the atrium. So I'm going to click to set once there, and then we're going to create an offset here. I'm just going to pan down a little further here, because I'm going to come in here, I'm going to hit my enter key on my keyboard to lock that in. I'm then going to hit O for temporary origin. I'm going to lift this up, maybe hit the S key here like that. You can see the ductwork has changed. I'm going to hit RT to rotate that ductwork like that. We're going to offset it by 3 feet, and all we have to do now is click, because the fitting is placed in, the ductwork is now offset, and I can now carry on with my modeling. I'm just going to right click here because there's another aspect of mechanical design that we need to be able to look at, and that is the fact that the architect originally put the ceiling grids in and some diffusers, and those are ours, and we need to take control of them because they belong to our discipline. How do we do that? Well, quite simply, we come to our Project Explorer, we twirl down Building Models, Design Models, and we come to the AECOsim M-Office Diffusers model here and just drag and drop that into our model. We use coincident as our attachment method, and straight away you can see just down here, and also as I select them or as I pass my cursor over them, they highlight in every other view. But if I'm to come out, just pull out of here, you can see that there are a number of them here, and we need to take ownership of them. First thing I'm going to do though is I'm going to zoom into the top view here. I'm going to right click on it. I'm going to say move reference, and I'm actually going to move these across here so they're in a much better position. Now I can right click that to set it, but now I'm going to bring these into our file and take ownership of these diffusers. To do that, I come into my primary toolbar and I go to my references. I highlight my M-Office diffusers, I right click on it, and I choose merge into master. When I do that, I click once in a view, a dialog box comes up saying, do you really want to do this? I say, yes, of course. And now, if I start selecting this particular diffuser here and hit the delete key on my keyboard, it's now gone. To be replaced by, in our task-based interface under HVAC grills and diffusers, second row down, first icon, top square ceiling diffuser. In here, in my data group instance data dialog box, I'm going to look at some of the wealth of data that's supplied with me for this particular diffuser. And what I need to do is to come down to the properties area here, and under catalog name, I'm going to click in the field, and you can see there's a jump box, and I have 3 industry standard catalogs. I'm going to choose Titus. And when I do that, I can right click in the other column and say manufacturer's catalog. The Titus catalog opens up for us. I'm going to choose this 24 by 24 and say apply. All the values of that catalog are now populated throughout my data group instance data and my building information model. I can now come in, if I just move this out the way slightly, and using my placement in top left here, I can come in, pressing I for intersection. I can place this right here and start working with it straight away. Want to see what it looks like? Pan around, and there is the one we've just placed. So now we're coming to the end part of this, because when we have diffusers, we need to hook them up, quite simply. So let's pull back from here, because what we're going to do is we're going to hook up some of these diffusers to the supply. And to do that, we're going to come across and highlight one of those diffusers, right click and say hook up. In our hookup dialog box, our type is going to be flexible. Our flex length is going to be 5 and our transition tolerance is going to be 1.0. And with that, I'm going to select the device and then come across here and select the supply like that, and then accept that, and Building Designer goes away and creates all the necessary fittings from my supply to my diffuser with a flexible end to it, to the diffuser. And there we have it. And these are just some of the capabilities for mechanical designers in AECOsim Building Designer V8i. Thank you very much.